What if death wasn't a disappearance, but a return? What if the cries of a newborn child were not a beginning, but a continuation, a whisper of footsteps retraced, of stories unfinished, of lives that have come again? Across many African cultures, death is not viewed as a permanent farewell. It is not a break in the journey, but a bend in the path. In the spiritual systems of the Yoruba, Igbo, Dinka, and many others, the soul is not lost when the body dies. It waits, it watches. And sometimes it returns through birth, through dreams, through signs too subtle for the untrained eye. Reincarnation in Africa is not identical to the Eastern doctrines of karma or samsara. It is not an escape from suffering or a striving for transcendence. It is instead a return to the family, to the village, to the soil that remembers your name. It is a spiritual cycle rooted in relationships, with ancestors, with community, with the earth itself. This is not metaphor. For countless families across the continent, reincarnation is as real as memory. It lives in the names children are given. It lives in the patterns of dreams, in the sudden familiarity of a child's gaze, in the marks on a baby's skin that mirror a departed elder. Elders may say, "She has come back," not in sadness, but in awe. This documentary is not an academic dissection. It is a spiritual listening. We journey into a belief system where time loops back on itself, where family trees are circular, not linear, and where ancestors walk beside the living, not as ghosts, but as children reborn. Through stories, ceremonies, and the sacred logic of generations, we will follow the soul's path from death to memory, to birth and back again, because in the African reincarnation tradition, nothing is ever truly lost. It only waits to be born again. In many African worldviews, life is not a straight line. It is a spiral, a circle, a rhythm that moves between the visible and the invisible. For the Bambara of Mali, the Akan of Ghana, and the Igbo of southeastern Nigeria, life does not begin with the first breath, nor does it end with the last. It continues unseen, yet deeply felt, always present, always returning. The living walk side by side with the unborn and the departed. These three, the ancestors, the living, and those yet to come, are not separated by walls of time. They exist as a continuum, one family, bound by blood, memory, and spirit. In this understanding, a newborn is not simply a new life. They are a returning one, and their return is not random. It is relational. It is intentional. Many believe that before a soul returns, it chooses where and how it will re-enter the world. It chooses a mother, a home, even a purpose. A family it returns to may be one it once belonged to, a grandmother who passed 5 years before, a great uncle whose mannerisms now appear unmistakably in a child's laugh. This continuity is sacred. It reminds communities that the dead are not gone, they are transformed. They speak through dreams, through nature, and through the very bodies of the young. When a baby stares deeply without blinking, elders may say, "This one has returned with eyes wide open." The signs are subtle, a familiar birthmark, a child who walks early, a toddler who remembers things they should not know. In the Yoruba tradition, a soul may travel from the realm of the ancestors, known as Orun, back to the realm of the living, Ai. This movement is not escape, but fulfillment. The soul returns to finish what was started, to restore balance, or to continue guiding the community in physical form. The concept of time itself bends in this spiritual worldview. A moment is never just a moment, it is connected to what came before and what is yet to come. Birth is not celebrated only as a new beginning, but as a renewal, a cycle completing and then beginning again. And so, when a child is born, there is joy, yes, but also recognition. Elders gather to observe. They look not just at the child's face, but through it, they listen to the cry, not just for need, but for memory, who has returned. Why now? What message does this soul carry? In these questions lies the essence of African reincarnation, that life does not forget. It continues, it loops, weaves, returns, and we, the living, are merely one part of the great spiral that never stops turning. And to understand reincarnation in Africa, one must first understand the role of the ancestors, not as distant spirits or mythic symbols, but as members of the living community. In African spirituality, the ancestors are not gone. They are present always. They are spoken to in prayer. They are honored with offerings. They are invited to meals and remembered at ceremonies. In many homes, a small altar or sacred corner stands not as decoration, but as a gateway, a place where the living and the departed meet in quiet reverence. A sip of water poured to the ground, a whisper spoken before sunrise, a name called aloud so that it is never forgotten. These are not rituals of mourning, they are rituals of presence. The belief is clear: if the ancestors are remembered, they bless the family. If they are forgotten, they may withhold that blessing or return reborn to remind the living of what was left undone. In the Igbo culture, stories are told of the Ogbanja, a spirit child who dies young and returns again and again to the same mother, often bringing grief in repeated cycles of birth and death. The Ogbanja is not seen as evil, but as a powerful soul caught in a pattern, returning perhaps to complete a task, to test strength, or to resolve past energy. The Yoruba have a similar concept, the Abiku. These children are believed to have made a pact with the spirit world to return briefly and leave, causing the family pain. Special ceremonies and names are used to break this cycle, to ask the child to stay, to remind them they are wanted, loved, and needed in this life. In more peaceful expressions, reincarnation is welcomed as a gift. In the Akan tradition of Ghana, elders may say, "Our mother has returned," when a child carries unmistakable signs of a beloved ancestor, the same eyes, a birthmark, a familiar laugh. The return is seen as a continuation of guidance. The elder becomes the child, the protector becomes protected, the circle tightens. Reincarnation and ancestral veneration are inseparable. One fuels the other. To honor the dead is to invite them to return. To forget them is to sever a line of wisdom that has no replacement. This bond is not theoretical. It shapes how children are raised, how names are given, how death is understood. Mourning is not only a time of sadness, it is a transition, a preparation, a beginning again. The soul is expected to stay close, to hover near the family, to watch, and when the time is right, to return. In this way, the ancestors are not only past, they are future. Their footprints become the paths their descendants will walk, and in the naming, in the dreaming, in the breath of a newborn child, they are already home. Reincarnation in many African cultures is not a vague concept, it is precise, recognizable. It is often spoken of with the same certainty as planting a seed and expecting it to grow again. A soul, when it returns, does not drift aimlessly. It chooses, guided by purpose, memory, and ancestral alignment. The cycle of birth and rebirth is not linear, but deeply interwoven with family and spirit. It begins before a child is born. In the months of pregnancy, elders and diviners may have dreams, visions of who is coming, of what spirit seeks to re-enter the family. A grandmother may appear in the dreams of her daughter, smiling, silent. A young father may wake with a knowing his late uncle will return as his son. The signs are taken seriously. They are confirmed not only by dreams, but through spiritual consultation and observation. When a child is born, the clues begin. The midwife and family watch for marks, a birthmark in the same spot as a deceased relative, a mole, a specific facial feature. But the signs go beyond the physical. Some children speak early, some walk before they should, some hold your gaze as if they've met your soul before. They might react to the name of the departed, or recognize objects they've never seen in this life. In these moments, families do not question logic, they listen to intuition. They say, "This one has returned." Naming ceremonies hold special weight. In many cultures, such as among the Akan and Yoruba, names are not merely decorative. They carry time, memory, identity. A child may be named directly after the person they are believed to be, not as homage, but as recognition. In some traditions, the name reveals the soul's path, its task, or even its former story. A name might mean he has returned in peace, or she comes again to finish her journey. This recognition is not casual, it has consequences. A child believed to be the return of a respected elder may be treated with special reverence. They may receive unique guidance, early responsibility, or even be asked to fulfill family roles far beyond their years. This is not pressure, it is trust, the community's way of saying, you are known, you are needed. Divination plays a role in confirming the rebirth through spiritual practices, like cowrie shell reading, casting bones, or asking the spirits. A family may receive clarity on the identity and purpose of the returning soul. These consultations are not just mystical rituals, they are moments of alignment where past and present speak to one another with full attention. In this way, the cycle of life is never closed. Birth is not the beginning, death is not the end. Each is a gate through which the soul passes, carrying stories, strengths, lessons. And the family, the village, the ancestors, they all participate in the return. So when a child is born in these traditions, the question is not only what will they become, it is also who have they been. And in answering that question, families do more than welcome new life. They welcome continuity, they welcome wisdom. They welcome the soul that chose to return, not as a stranger, but as one of their own, born again to walk a path that is both new and remembered. In the African spiritual view, reincarnation is not random, it is tied to moral weight. A soul does not return aimlessly. It comes with intention shaped by the way it lived before, by the choices it made, and by the lessons still left to learn. But this isn't karma as defined in Eastern philosophy. In African thought, it is not a rigid system of punishment and reward. It is a process of spiritual rebalancing. A soul that lived well may return quickly, joyfully, perhaps even into a family of blessing. One that lived in conflict may return into hardship, not as punishment, but as a path toward restoration. The aim is not retribution, but harmony. In many traditions, life is viewed as a series of agreements between the soul and the ancestors, between the self and the community. A person is born not only for themselves, but for others, to uphold a name, to bring strength to the lineage, to walk a road that strengthens the chain, not weakens it. If that chain is broken through betrayal, violence, neglect of duty, the soul may return not in peace, but in correction. This is why children are sometimes born with strange illnesses or unexplained difficulties, according to traditional belief. A family may seek divination and learn that the child is a returning ancestor who is unsettled, who needs to be acknowledged, spoken to, given their name back. In such moments, the spiritual world is not feared, it is engaged. A ritual may be performed, a name restored, and the child healed, not just physically but spiritually. In the Dinka traditions of South Sudan, and among the Yu and Ga people of Ghana, there are stories of children who reveal their past lives in casual conversation. A boy who knows how to forge tools without being taught, a girl who recognizes a village she's never been to. These stories are not dismissed, they are understood as signals that the soul carries unfinished business. Perhaps they are returning to fulfill an oath, to protect a family member, or to finish a work that was left undone. The power of morality and reincarnation is that it extends beyond the individual. It holds the family accountable. If an ancestor was wronged, their pain might echo into the next generation. If a blessing was unfulfilled, it may come through a new birth. This is not superstition, it is memory made sacred. Destiny, then, is not fate, but a road with many steps, each one watched over by those who came before. Some are born to lead, some to heal, some to reconcile. In the Yoruba worldview, before a soul is born, it chooses its ori, its divine head, its inner path. That destiny may be difficult, it may even come with trials, but it is chosen, and it must be honored. So a person's life is judged, not just by what they gain, but by what they restore, how they treat others, whether they lived in accordance with the values of their people. And when they die, the story does not close, it only turns. The soul may wait, may reflect, and may return again to walk in new footsteps, carrying both light and memory into the world once more. In African spiritual systems where reincarnation is honored, the family is not simply a social unit, it is a spiritual vessel, a lineage, a sacred thread that stretches across time, linking the living not only to one another, but to all those who came before, and all those who will return. So within this view, a child is never just a child. They are a chapter in a much older story. They may carry the soul of a grandmother, an uncle, even a sibling who passed in infancy. And when that soul returns, it does not arrive as a stranger. It returns to where it once belonged, to the same bloodline, the same home, the same ancestral energy. This understanding shapes how families relate to one another. In Igbo communities, if a child is believed to be a returning ancestor, they may be treated with a blend of reverence and familiarity. An elder might say, "This child is my father," and mean it. A mother might speak to her newborn, not as a blank slate, but as someone she already knew in another life. The child is seen not only as new life, but as continuation, as return. Naming reflects this belief powerfully. In Akan families, a child may receive the exact name of the relative they are believed to embody. This is not imitation, it is restoration. It ensures that the ancestor remains present, spoken of daily, honored not through memory alone, but through breath, laughter, and learning. This reincarnational logic also explains the profound communal responsibility in child rearing. Children are not seen as private possessions. They are part of the lineage, living expressions of ancestors who require guidance, protection, and teaching. To neglect a child is not only a social failure, it is a spiritual offense. You are not failing the child alone. You are failing the ancestor who walks again. Elders carry this knowledge with them. They watch for signs in behavior, in instinct, in unusual fears or abilities that signal a returning soul. A young girl may take an unusual liking to her great-grandmother's old possessions. A boy may recall events from before his birth. Teaser moments are not dismissed. They are investigated with respect, confirmed through dreams, divination, or the insight of a spiritual elder. Family lineage in these traditions is not straight, but circular. You do not simply move forward, you circle back. The present holds the past. And in that cycle, identity is never lost. It is remarred. Even funerals and burials reflect this belief. The body may be laid to rest, but the soul is expected to stay close, to find its way back if it chooses. Some families bury the dead with items they might need when they return. A comb, a tool, a bracelet. These are not symbolic tokens. They are provisions for a journey that continues. And so, reincarnation does more than explain life and death. It affirms connection. It affirms that you are never alone. You are not one generation. You are many, and your name, spoken again and again, is not just remembered, it is reborn. There is a flame that never dies. It burns low in the silence between heartbeats. It flickers in the space between a child's first cry and an elder's final breath. That flame is memory. That flame is spirit. And in the African tradition of reincarnation, it is the very essence of life, never extinguished, only transformed. We often speak of life as a line, of death as a wall, of time as something we can never reclaim. But in these sacred traditions, time is a circle, life is a spiral. Death is not a disappearance, it is a turning inward, a return to the spirit world, where the ancestors wait, and from there the soul may choose to come again, not as punishment or escape, but as reunion. Throughout this journey, we've seen how the Bambara, the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Akan, and many others weave the sacred into the everyday. How a newborn is not just celebrated, but studied. How a name is more than a word, it is a map. How dreams, rituals, and deep listening allow families to recognize when a soul has returned, bringing with it not only a life, but a legacy. We've heard how morality is written not just in this life, but across lifetimes. How ancestors do not leave us, but walk beside us, guiding, protecting, sometimes correcting. How family is not just horizontal parent to child, but vertical, a tower of generations stacked soul upon soul. And so, in these traditions, no one is ever truly lost. Their name is spoken, their ways remembered, and if the world is kind, if the balance is kept, they return to continue what they began. To teach again, to love again. This belief does not deny the pain of loss, it does not erase the silence of grief, but it offers something else, something deeper, a promise that beneath the soil of mourning, new roots are already growing, that the flame never truly goes out. It is passed hand to hand, breath to breath, life to life, and so we end where we began, with a question: what if death is not an ending? What if it is a turning? What if even now someone we loved is making their way back to us, quiet, smiling, eyes full of stories we've only just begun to understand? In the African tradition of reincarnation, the answer is simple. Return is not only possible, it is sacred, and the flame burns on.